My reflection is going to focus on me and Ambrielle's journey this quarter. So, this is me. I'm from a small town of Peoria, Illinois, in central Illinois. This winter I started working with Illuminate and was assigned a mentee named Ambrielle from the Chicago area. And even though they're only 3 hours away, I know to her it probably seemed like we grew up worlds apart. I spent most of our beginning time together wondering if she would even like me, if she could even relate to who I was. And for a while, her story just seemed like blank pages. I really didn't know much about her, and she wouldn't really open up. But I knew that she had pretty good misconceptions of what my life was like. A land of Starbucks, nice cars, flowers, glitter, something, whatever privileged white girls' lives are like. And this was far from it. I actually went to a high school much like Ambrielle's, known for gangbangers and pregnant teenagers who drop out before they can even graduate. So we were sitting one day during one of our sessions, and I asked Ambrielle, "Do you even believe me when I tell you can do this, you can get into the college of your dreams?" And she said, "I don't know." And it broke my heart. She said it's easy for people like you, for people who have had everything going for them their whole lives. So I started to open up and tell Ambrielle my real story. It's always just been me and my mom. I've never met my dad. I've always lived in rougher parts of town, gangbangers, gun violence, everything. And then of course there's Rich Woods, aka Rich Hoods. So Ambrielle said, "I didn't know people like us could make it. Before you came around, no one had ever told me I could do this." And her face lit up. I finally felt the breakthrough I'd been waiting through our whole time together. And we got to talking, and we realized her world and my world overlapped a lot more than we could ever imagine. We had so much in common. And she told me that she travels all the way from Oak Park, far down the Green Line, all the way to Rogers Park at the tip of the Red Line every day to go to school. And Ambrielle's story is still kind of blank pages, but I know that her future is college. And before this unit, I never really would have thought this story and Ambrielle's story would relate to sustainability. Especially the 3-part diagram and stars chart of what it means to be a sustainable community. I feel like too often these things are all thought of separately, but if Ambrielle gets straight A's, a 31 on her ACT, and accepted to the college of her dreams, does it really matter if her community can't provide her with jobs, healthy food, or even safety? I thought back to Ambrielle's story and how she travels all the way from Oak Park to the Loyola Red Line stop every day. This is 1.5 hours each way, every single day of commuting. Not only does this waste Ambrielle's time, money, and other resources, it's completely not sustainable for her or her community. Does all of this to attend Sullivan's medical program and to escape the crime and poor schools in her local neighborhoods. But I feel like this commuting has a lot of negative effects on Ambrielle. She doesn't really have a true sense of community or belonging anywhere. And like the rest of her family, Ambrielle is obese. She doesn't have time for sports, and the commuting lifestyle usually leads to lots of fast food. And even if Ambrielle were to think about these things, I know she's not doing it in terms of sustainability. But just because Ambrielle isn't necessarily thinking about these things doesn't mean these resources aren't present in her community. It's just making the connection, which is what places like the Nature Museum try to do with their outreach programs. Having these resources does nothing if they're just sitting there, so it's why it's necessary for these places to be participants in their community rather than just waiting for people to come to them. And thinking back to my experience with Ambrielle, the first question I have is, what does it really mean to be an outsider? Is it simply geography? I'm not really a fan of the idea that if one place has resources and another place needs those resources, they shouldn't help them out. Take Rotary, for example. Chapters from all over the world are helping to fund X-ray machines in Guatemala, even if they're nowhere in the same vicinity. In the long term, this isn't really sustainable, but I like to think of it more as like building the frame of a house that a place fills with its own resources over time. And if we follow this kind of model in terms of tutoring, Sullivan students should teach the middle school students in the area and teach the elementary school students in the area, and this leaves Loyola students to be the ones tutoring the Sullivan students. But in reality, as someone who's the only thing has in common with Ambrielle is their geography, are they really less of an outsider than I am, someone whose world overlaps so much with Ambrielle? My second question is something we talked about in class. How do we connect youth, especially low-income youth like Ambrielle, to the resources that already exist in their community? If they already have their future planned out, how do we connect them to jobs and proper health care? Nature Museum and Rotary do a great job of this, but is it really enough? Make sure that they have access to health and safety and everything else on the STARS chart of a sustainable community. In order for Ambrielle to be able to connect to her community, the community needs to reach out to Ambrielle. And maybe, if it does a great enough job, Ambrielle will definitely be thinking about sustainability in her future. This story was inspired by the Draw My Life videos on YouTube. Thank you for watching.